Hello, everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion. This is the last program of today's workshop. Tomorrow we will meet again with the other two tracks. So, uh, first of all, I'm Abhinav. I'm one of the organizers of DSTC9, and I'll be moderating today's panel discussion. The topic of today's discussion is the role of research challenges in shaping conversational AI research. And we would like to examine the hindsight and foresight of this theme, since this is one of the primary goals of running this series of DSTC challenges, like to shape the research, conversational AI research. So for today's panel discussion, we have four panelists who are experts in the field of conversational AI and have been associated with the DSTC community for a long time. Our first panelist, Dr. Chiori Hori, she is a senior principal research scientist at MERD, and which is Mitsubishi Electric Research Laboratories. She has been an organizer for three separate editions of DSTC challenges, and is also a steering committee member for DSTC9. Our second panelist is Dr. Dilek Hakkani-Tur. She is a senior principal research scientist at Amazon Alexa AI. She has been the research lead for last three Amazon Alexa challenges, which have been very popular in the research community. She is also the organizer of track one at DSTC9, the knowledge grounded conversation track. And personally, for me, Dilek has been a mentor in my initial years in this field of conversational AI. Our third panelist is Dr. Koichiro Yoshino. He's the lead for dialogue research team at Riken. He has been involved in the DSTC challenges since DSTC 5. So for the last 5 sessions of the challenges, either as an organizer or as a steering committee member. And our fourth panelist is Dr. Rafael Banchs. He's a data science manager at Intap, and he has also been involved with the DSTC community for a very long time. So since DSTC 4 for the last 6 years or so, as either as an organizer or as a steering committee member. So I welcome all the panelists to this discussion. And so to begin the discussion, I'll kick off the discussion with recapping a few things about DSTCs. So as we have seen also in today's introductory talk, DSTC challenges we are about to actually complete we are about to start the 10th edition of DSTC challenges. Like tomorrow we will have proposals coming in for DSTC 10. So we have done around a decade of these challenges. So we have a lot of challenges to look back to. And also with the rising interest of these challenges, we foresee that these challenges will keep on going for foreseeable future. So on the plus side, we have observed that a lot of data sets have been created through these challenges, and they have definitely shaped the research in dialogue research community for a very long time. We have seen a lot of state of the art models come in. What started as a dialogue state tracking challenges, we have seen it evolve into dialogue system technology challenges. We have seen its scope widen and increase to new research topics that have come in the field of conversational AI. So I would request each of the panelists to sort of briefly introduce themselves, and after that maybe try to answer what is your role of what is your assessment of the role these challenges have played in the past. Are you satisfied with the progress we have seen, or has it been or would you have liked to see something more? And are all these challenges, have they been fulfilling their objectives with which they were created almost 10 years ago? So first, I would like to ask Dr. Chiori Go.
Okay. I think this challenge works. Is motivated by the speech recognition challenge. I think the researchers have worked on the speech recognition. They have adopted a project and challenges, and they can achieve the high performance using the same platform. So actually, we really want to have the same types of platform, and from the beginning, it was very hard to get the big data, and especially the task itself is very simple, and in-house data, it's very difficult to share among the research field, and you know the first challenge is still restaurant retrieval or bus routing guide, and the target is very limited. But 2015 sequence to sequence model is popped up, and more huge data is available. Of course, at the time we still have the limitation because of the data, Twitter data, or any other SNS data. Actually, data use is limited, so it is very difficult to share the data among us. And from my perspective, I think the population of the dialogue researchers increased, and that technology itself is getting better and better, and we can achieve much higher performance. I think this direction is I believe it was right we have done from now. And for future, of course, still there are multiple tasks we have to work, as Pascal show various kinds of topics we have to work on. I think at least I'm very satisfied with this very fruitful, flawless research activity in dialogue field. Okay, that's my opinion.
Thank you. That is indeed true. Next, I think, can we have Dilek speak next?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Abhinav. Thanks for inviting me first. So, as Chiori also said, I mean, there are so many different dialogue research areas that have been actually created in the past challenges, sharing lots of data, sharing baselines, or even competitive state-of-the-art with all the dialogue research community. So for that purpose, I think the challenges have been significantly useful. And I'm actually surprised by the diversity of the tasks that have been introduced by lots of different teams, right? Like you're just sitting in your lab doing research on dialogue. It's hard to come up with all of them. So it's really broadening our vision and understanding. So I'm expecting actually challenges to continue in a growing fashion. One thing, because you were saying like, what would you want to see in the future? One thing that we have been discussing with Seokwan, who is also in the audience, and then probably others as well. I think probably just one-time challenge is not enough. I actually do want to go see and then keep doing like maybe on some leaderboard or online platform like Eval.ai. It would be great actually to continue some of these, because I do see the need like, oh, like such a challenge from 2 years ago. I do want to do some more research on it. It would be great to kind of have them in a continuing fashion. But that said, I think the progress has been great. I'm really happy.
That was a comment, like I think Sekwan posted that comment on the leaderboard, and few people wanted to ask the same question.
Great.
Sort of, that is like we have been seeing DSTCs go as like isolated research challenges which run for a few months and then get finished. What would be like a good way? So maybe I'm moving to another question, but like maybe we can keep this question for later after
Sure.
other panelists have spoken.
Sure. Yeah.
So okay, I'll come back to this point more. But thanks for bringing it up. Next, can we hear from Dr. Koichiro?
Yeah, so as both.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Sorry.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes,
is it
yes.
Koichiro?
Yeah, my Koichiro, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, as mentioned, yeah, as Chiori, both Chiori and Dilek mentioned, so yeah, DSTC started from the direct state tracking. Direct state tracking was originally from the speech recognition community, and but we have changed the focus of the challenge to the wider area of dialogue-related technology from DSTC6, and that is very important change of DSTC community to cover the any related area of dialogue researches. And I think the most important point of dialogue research is how do we define the problem, and also how do we prepare the data, and how do we define the evaluation metrics for that defined task. And a good point of the SDG challenges was, of course, collecting and distributing the data set. And because yeah, collecting dialogue data is most tough point of dialogue research. And if we have some available data set of dialogue for dialogue researches, new researchers who want to work on dialogue-related area can join the research community very easily. So yeah, and yeah, and yeah, of course, by using that distributed data set, we could build a big research community of that for to contribute the dialogue-related researches. That is another contribution of this 10 years DSTC challenges.
That is a great point. Like for me personally, I have also found the DSTC datasets very useful, especially when I was a new researcher, to have these benchmarks around and like sort of play around with different datasets, models. So definitely agree with that. Dr. Rafael, can we hear from you next?
Yes, sure. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, when I think about DSTC, I think that the evolution of DSTC is showing us somehow in a summarized manner that the evolution of the field itself. Right? We started with state tracking at the beginning, which is a very specific problem, and we evolved from analyzing human system communication to revisiting the problem of human-human communication, and then broadening to a more different problems. And I'm amazed about the amount of different challenges that we can see now in a DSTC competition. And for me, it has been the process of evolution of the field itself. The value is basically, as the other panelists have said already, the data sets, the algorithms, and all the things that have been developed. When you review papers or you see new publications, there is a lot of people out there using dialogue state tracking and DSTC data sets as a reference to report their progress in the field. So I think the balance is positive. I also agree with the idea that probably having open challenges that are continuous in time rather than in a particular point in time is a good idea. We can probably comment on this later when you pose the other question. But for me, the balance has been very positive, and I'm very excited about the future of this series of competitions.
Thank you. Yeah, completely agree with the statement all the panelists have made. We are all happy and proud of actually being part of this community of DSTCs. Even our mailing list is fairly active. But like if we were to critically examine the role of DSTCs, like what sort of like really try to find the flaws, although we have seen so many gains. Like, so one point that Dilek pointed out also, like, which is the first one is like it just runs sort of as a periodic challenge. Maybe we focus just on it for 3 months, and after that, we don't continue, like people can't continue working on those challenges, or although the challenge or leaderboard doesn't continue. That is one. And another thing is we see that DSTC, like a lot of models that are developed through DSTCs, they are not so some of the models are not really efficient for production purposes, or like still they are still far from productionization. So exists this gap from the models we develop in DSTCs to the models that are used in industry. So if we were to sort of, so from what I see and from what we hear in the comments, we definitely have a lot of progress to make along at least these two directions. So what are the perspectives of the panelists in these directions? Like how can we improve the future editions of these of the challenges to sort of have more productionizable impact, and also to continue work on like a certain theme as the challenges progress. So yeah, we can go in any order.
Okay, so let me start from me again. And actually, leaderboard is a very nice idea. I have worked on an audiovisual scene-aware dialogue for 2 challenges, and after the challenge, so we provided the data set and baseline. People keep working on that data set, and they freely publish the papers using the data set. And of course, citing the original, challenge is very important, but, without leaderboard, but still they refer the baseline in the, all of challenge numbers in the paper, and they keep working on the data set. Actually, computer vision, visual dialogue, this is a static image question answering task. In that case, automatically evaluate whoever can submit the result to the servers, and the performance is stored and listed. And one thing I'm concerning about that, the evaluation system, actually, we cannot confirm the system architecture or specification clearly without keeping in touch with the researchers. So in this challenge, at least we can keep contact with the authors, challengers, to share the real conditions, and we can know their architectures. And this is a bit different from freely designed. If they can open that system on the GitHub, that is okay, but without releasing any, just writing the equation is not enough to know about the system is working or not. So this is my concern. Okay, so Dilek.
So
Chiori,
Chiori,
you can go in any order.
yeah, I was mentioning so Chiori, you are saying that maybe we should enforce like sharing code as or make it more stricter, right? That's a very good point. We have not enforced it in the past, and maybe as we have seen in many conferences also, now sharing code is becoming more and more sort of recommended, and many conferences are even enforcing it. So that could be a good suggestion for us to follow up on.
Okay.
Yeah. Who wants to go next?
I think you asked an interesting question, Abhinav, productionization. I don't really see too many challenges that are looking into production problems. That may be a good idea to just recruit some of those as well, right? Like right now, when we are looking into the research problems, we're basically don't worry about the size of the model, don't worry about the latency, although latency is very important for dialogue. I think more interactive challenges, like for example, the challenge that Shakib, Maxine, and others have organized, it's good in that direction. Maybe some of those problems could be highlighted in some of the future challenges. But I think it's also important to stay with the basic research problems. So maybe just one, but to create some diversity in terms of ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the fact that we are not focusing, or we haven't focused on systems that are ready to go to production doesn't bother me at all. For me, we are more trying to understand the basic problems that need to be solved in order to make systems that perform well. And what comes next is the generation of efficient implementations that can be deployed in productions. But it would be nice to have some challenges in that direction, but I don't think that's the main goal of this type of scientific or research challenges. Regarding the first question, I completely agree. I mean, we're dealing with complex systems and large data sets, and probably this is not possible for all the challenges, but if we can maintain those challenges open over the year for people to keep submitting results and maintain a leaderboard where people can see the progress over the year and just present some conclusion or some summary of their work during the events like this, I think that will be more beneficial for the research community in general, rather than to follow the cadence of 1 year challenge and every year to start working again on the problems. So I completely agree with the possibility of having open challenges over the year.
So Chiori also brought up this point of like AVSD track, visual, the track which Chiori has organized in the past. So audio visual scene aware dialogue track. Similarly, there is this end-to-end task completion challenge track. These two tracks have been running for like, I think 2 or 3 DSTCs sequentially, and also they build on top of each other. So such tracks kind of like, even though they don't run continuously over 1 year, they are able to sort of like in the next edition, people build on what they have done in the previous editions. So like, but on the other hand, we have had tracks where people like which kind of end after one session. So like, how do you compare? Like, is there any preference, or should we sort of like have continuation enforced in some way, like, or yeah.
So of course we need to have a participants to each track. So if the challenge itself is not popular, so in that case we cannot run the challenge itself. So of course, the population estimation is very important. Trend of research is also important, but actually, right now, if people want to keep working on that one, at the beginning, actually, the track is only one before, but I try to expand the, target. This is because, so as Pascal mentioned, actually we stick with the knowledge-based, slot filling type of dialogue, or it's to chat, two types of things. But when we, foresee the, to see the future, actually, visual dialogue is also important. Like we need to make a balance between the parallelly to improve the current system. And also we need to think about the fundamental, dialogue, slot type, or, various chit chat, or, user persona type of dialogue, or emotional things. This type of variety of the topics we have to consider. And seems like in this workshop, I'm very happy to see multiple. Before we have only 1 day, workshop, but now we have 2-day workshop. And if we can make it parallel, Zoom break into the room, like we can actually, make a balance between the, only 4 tracks or more 6 tracks, and 3 of them are, continuous challenges, and 3 brand new challenge will be introduced. So I think it is still okay if we can manage the dialogue, this type of workshop. Yeah, I think so.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, as mentioned by Chiori, so yeah, continuous work from the previous challenge and improvement to the previous task is very important. And yeah, to keep the yeah, someone commented on chat of Zoom, so they say that reproducibility is very important for the researches. And but in current system to invite several tracks for the dialogue system technology challenge, it will be very difficult to keep the system to maintain the for example score of submitted results, or what is the state of the art, or what is the state of the art code, or yeah, something. And we have to continue to discuss about how do we manage such a system if we want to make a challenge. If we want to move this challenge to the more continuous challenge is, yeah, I think.
Yeah, that is a good point. Sort of like if we were to maintain a continuous leaderboard where people can come and submit their code. And so sort of what we see for like a few other challenges where people submit their code and we kind of run that code and update the leaderboard automatically. So yeah, that is definitely needs some work on infrastructure side as well, like uh, to have that setup ready. But on the other hand, we could just have like people publishing their code with their papers and also submitting maybe test set results to an automated script. So like based on an honor system, we can assume that like the code which generated the test set also was submitted online. So that could be like a midway ground. But like, do people have a preference or any other comments related to this?
Just worry that making the submission of the code online could make it a little bit harder for the industry to participate in real time. But there are certainly platforms, online platforms like Eval.ai that provide us the capability to just coordinate a leaderboard. That doesn't necessarily require you to submit your models. So.
Yeah.
I really agree with that. And also, I think in these 5 years, basically, we have an open call of proposal to from the participant, and basically we select several proposals as a challenge task of that will be conducted in the DSTC challenge. But I think we have to continue to discuss about how do we change the system to focus on fundamental dialogue research problem, and also what is the important research point for any current participants of this DSTC community, I think.
So regarding productionization, so like so we another surprising thing is like we have seen a lot of tracks coming from industries in the recent times, but probably productionization has not been a goal in these tracks, which we would expect probably from industries. But as Rafael said, like maybe we should not care that much about productionization. Our important goal is like maybe research. But still, even given those constraints, should we put some limits on like say the runtime or the size of models, or should we dispense with such limits, hoping that in the future technology will catch up and any model we build would be productionizable sometimes down the line?
So actually, one thing I'm really concerned about it, so GPT-3, you guys know about the capability. They installed the, response generator to the radiate, and humans cannot recognize that is a machine's responses at all. So, but actually the model cannot be used for the, pre-trained model. This is because too huge. So it means that the gap between the computation power in the university side and, big industry companies, side. So it means that, we really need to be careful about the balance, this, gap between the academic side and the industry side. So this is actually in DSTC is still, I think this is a research-oriented community. And if we just shift to the industry side too much, means that, participants like, graduate students cannot come to join anymore. So it is not, I think it is not the goal. This community should maintain the, academic side. And of course, the industry side needs to inspire people to work on which can contribute to the, real commercial products. So of course, this is important. That the balance is the most difficult to, control here.
I completely agree. And part of the problem is not only the limitation on the size of the model, because I mean, I don't think we should be imposing constraints, but definitely we must favor research that focus on solving the same problems with less computational power, because of one reason. I mean, there is always a balance between memory capability and reasoning capability in cognitive systems. And I'm going to give you an example. Imagine you can build a table for addition, subtraction, multiplication with not all the numbers, but with a large amount of numbers, right? And you can do that. I mean, you can build a huge lookup table where basically every summation, subtraction or multiplication that you want to make is there. But if you don't have that memory capacity, then you need to come up with an algorithm to do addition, subtraction, and multiplication. So in this balance, we are now seeing computational power and memory availability has gone to a limit in which you can basically memorize large amounts of data and search in there. But the question is that the problem we want to solve? Of course, those are really cool technologies, but we can probably see for solutions that are constrained from the memory side in order to get more reasoning capability from our algorithms, which is basically that balance between memory and reasoning that cognitive agents should have at the end of the day.
This is a very good discussion. I completely agree with what has been said. Although I want to look at it from a different perspective as well, which is actual users, real users interacting with these systems and how their behavior actually changes. How their behavior is different than the crowdsourcer, like paid user behavior. So some of these I don't really see too much in the challenges, although I said there was one track this year that did the interactive evaluation. I find that difference or the way that real users will actually interact with your system, in so many ways different than what you would expect, quite fascinating. So I do really want to see some activities towards working with actual user data, real user data, and having some frameworks, maybe even for that. It's challenging, I know, but I think it would be great as a community if we can think about ways of making these systems available to real user interactions as well, to see what sort of behaviors we will see, what sort of new challenges we will observe, and so on.
So, like that's a great point. So are you like advocating for also having participants submitting some interactive demos which people can play with? Maybe it's briefly available during the workshop, or maybe even longer.
Even longer, yeah.
Okay. Another excellent point that was raised by Chiori was like about like if we solely focus on the evaluation metrics, anything like obviously the models using GPT-3 or like BERT, they would do better. But once we start focusing just on evaluation metrics, we are putting constraints on like compute resources, which maybe university students don't have access to. Like sort of we are tilting the game in the favor of industry more than the like universities maybe. So is there like how can we solve this problem sort of, like instead of yeah, how can we make this game more fair?
I think
So-
it's not only the problem of this community, but also any research community, including the top conferences. And yeah, of course, we also need to focus on other types of evaluation metrics, like for example, calculation cost in training or calculation cost in decoding, or yeah, required amount of data set, and we have to I think we have to add such viewpoints to evaluate the research, that because it because such metrics is very important to be used in any area or in any community or any organization who want to use that model.
One option can be to incorporate the computational, the volume of computational resource that you're using as part of the evaluation metric. So the evaluation can be a bidimensional metric where you see performance, but you also see computational resources. So it's not the same to compare a 90% accuracy with a huge amount of memory and computational resources and an 80% of accuracy with a very limited computational resource. So I think we can incorporate this into the metrics in order to make more understandable to the evaluators what are the differences across the systems and the resources that are being used.
So I would like to propose a crazy idea. So do you know global warming? Using computation powers means that we use tons of electricity and only 0.4% is, enhanced by using tons of electricity. Is this the goal of our research? I think this is not our goal. I think, just to improve the 0.1% using much more simple method is better, right? So it means that definitely I agree with Rafael. We can penalize the performance based on the, how much you used for the calculation. Like, so this, ethics is now, everybody talk about ethics for the, ethical code to behave in the community. The same things, calculating things using huge power is not necessarily to improve 0.1%. So it means that definitely we have to think about the, how to evaluate the systems fairly in a fair manner to, anyway, we have to, decrease the computations, right? So we can, right now we test, more data, more calculation, like, this direction is not a happy story in the end. I think we really have to be smarter to think about, nicer, to get the nicer algorithm to compress the calculation power. So.
Yeah, excellent point about global warming. It personally bothers me a lot too. Like whenever I train a BERT model and all, I feel really bad. Like how many trees I have to plant today to compensate. Any other thoughts from the panel? Okay, so maybe this can be like a good diversion to another topic, sort of. So regarding making the game fair for industry and academia, another bias that exists in participation is like we are seeing a lot of participants from, not just participants, even challenge proposals coming from North America and East Asia. What are the different perspectives or like insights from panelists on like sort of mitigating this bias and making DSTC challenges more accessible to research communities like in other geographical locations?
I think that's a very important point, and I think language plays an important role. I don't know how to articulate probably a strategy to get more participation from other regions in the world, but probably including challenges in languages that are not only Chinese, English, and can help.
So you mean that more languages, like translation, like, we can expand the target, not only for English and Chinese, we are targeting much smaller language. So
ideally should be to get original dialogues in different languages, but I know that's a big challenge. I have seen a lot of experimentation with machine translations that really helps to create dialogues in new languages just by using standard machine translation techniques.
So it means that the low resource dialogue data is boosted by the, English dialogue corpus, like.
Yes. And this can encourage people from other geographies to participate.
So in terms of participation, I think there were participants from Europe or other places, not just East Asia and US, but organization. I'm not 100% sure how to actually make it more attractive for others to organize these challenges, because with that, I think we will also see some more diversity in the ideas that are being proposed. And then we will all see the problems of these other languages or other places. Maybe some more active recruitment of teams for the next challenge could play some role. Maybe some sponsorship, like funding teams to organize, because it's, if you think about it, it's a lot of work, right? You need to gather the data sets, you need to come up with evaluation metrics, respond to everyone's questions. Like organizing a challenge by itself is, I mean, you guys know, right? So it's a lot of work. So maybe some sponsorship to support students from diverse locations to organize, to work on this challenge. Those could be some ideas. Maybe ask for industry sponsorship to support diverse places to organize the challenges, not just participate. Of course, participation could also have some incentives, but I see organization by others more of a problem right now.
Yeah, I agree. So at the beginning, of course, the participants is very important, but middle layer, so track organizer, who has the idea to promote the research target, that is also very important role. And through this experience organizing track, actually researchers get more high perspective grants to see the research itself. So I believe that if we can give a chance to all the people from all over the world to organize the track, that is also nice. So hope in that case we expand the target, various kinds of challenge based on the target itself, but we can have one track for the low resource language, and also let them organize the track itself. So that is very nice idea. I agree, totally agree on this idea.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, sort of having a track especially earmarked for low resource languages. It can be any dialogue problem, but specifically reserved for like low resource languages.
Yeah,
I think
probably we should be more active in reaching out to people in those other regions of the world and inviting. I mean, we cannot expect that just making public the call for proposals. We can probably target specific labs or teams and invite them to submit proposals. I think that's, and definitely I agree, industry support will be very important, because most of the time these limitations are because lack of economical resources for probably professors to pay students to work on this task.
so. We have 10 more minutes left. If there are any questions from audience for the panelists.
I think there are some comments in chat.
Yeah, there is one comment from one question from Ifra Idris. What are your thoughts on dialogue community working on problems that have more than slot filling architecture, that have collaboration and or for procedural tasks in embodied agent fashion?
I think that's a good, if I understand the question right. I mean, not all the dialogue systems are just working on slot filling architectures, right? We do have all these open domain dialogue systems. But I do think that we should broaden, like, for example, as we are working towards interesting problems for dialogue, NLP communities coming with interesting resources and tasks. For example, resources for common sense in the forms of knowledge graphs, resources for events, event relation annotations, and so on, right? So I do feel like, or in general, resources for better understanding of documents. So I do see each of these as resources that are going to be useful for dialogue research in the shorter and longer run. So maybe we also extend to more of those, like try to integrate common sense in these response generation systems, or even things that are related to generating more ethical responses, unbiased responses, and so on. So benefiting from some of these resources. I think dialogue is a area where you can actually show the use of many of these things with through real interaction. So yeah, I completely agree. We shouldn't just focus on slot filling. We're not doing that, but I think there are a lot of opportunities. And as Chiori was saying, also visual information. So yeah.
So I believe that our challenge has various kinds of targets in here, and not only for, slot value, things. And actually, okay, so right now, chit chat is combined with task-oriented dialogue. And of course, task-oriented dialogue itself is we need to get the slot and slot value, but actually the expression, representation, text representation is totally different. Various kinds of text representation to give the same information. And now, various represent how to generate the various representation and persona type, speaker dependent responses needed to be generated. Like I believe that, as Koichiro mentioned, whatever we can enhance the quality of dialogue system, we need to solve. I guess so.
Yes, yes. And what kind of information can the system access for the interaction is very important. And in this DSTC9 challenge, we have a document grounded track organized by Amazon Alexa, and and also related challenge with virtual world that is organized by Facebook AI. And of course, we also need to focus on how will the system use such a surrounding information that the system can access in the interaction with the user, I think.
There is another question from Paul Crook. So the metrics chosen for challenges, they may not be the best for optimizing the overall system performance. So for example, our metric for dialog state tracking, like the gradients we choose based on these metrics, they may not always lead to better systems. So what are the some thoughts on improving challenge metrics in this regard?
Well, the best evaluation, that's a very good question. The best evaluation is always the human evaluation, but that's a very expensive one. So if you look at the history of speech and language technologies, the problems really start gain momentum when there are metrics that people agree, the community agrees to use, and they don't need to have, they don't need to be perfect metrics. If you look at machine translation, when Blue.com, everybody agreed that it was not the best metric for evaluating machine translation, but at least it shows some sort of correlation with human judgment, and all the community agreed to follow that. So if we manage to do that to do something like that in the dialogue community, that will make a big change in the way that the research will be conducted. But I think we're in this process, and there have been few challenges focusing on metrics, and I think we should be continue working in that direction.
So a metric issue, actually, always speech recognition is stick with Levenstein distance. Very long time, for a very long time. Of course, we argued about, okay, so much more important words needs to be considered as, salient information should be weighted, like, but actually, the most important thing is consistently we can see the meaning of the numbers. So today I asked Sokan, what's the meaning of the numbers evaluation scores? And from the machine translation field, we always have the human judgment. This is because task by task, test data by test data, the correlation itself is different. So it means that every time the meaning of the score has a different meaning. So in that case, at least we need to get the human judgment and do objective evaluation metrics and see the correlation. And we need to know the meaning of the numbers, and we can say something using the evaluation metrics. And definitely we can chase the evaluation metric, but we have to make a balance. Chasing evaluation metrics too much is not good, and but without good evaluation metrics, we cannot not achieve the higher performance. This is a little bit. We should be careful to chase the target evaluation metrics, or we have to think about the algorithm itself.
Yeah, I agree with what Chiori is saying, and then she actually raised a good point. It has been a long time friction with our speech recognition colleagues because they have been trying to minimize the word error rate. Whereas when we take their outputs and then when we use in dialogue systems, for example, systems, star systems that have higher word error rates oftentimes result in lower SLU rates because of the salient words are better recognized in some other models and so on. But I think it helped that field evolve significantly up until now. So having such a point-wise metric, I think if it is well defined, it does help. But end-to-end measures are important. But in general, I think the evaluation question for dialogue is a hard one. So that's why, I mean, I'm not too comfortable with even the human evaluation itself, to tell you the truth, but there needs to be, I think, some more work done in that field. Maybe interactive evaluations, which are expensive, but if we can encourage some more challenges or some platforms for that, I think it could help all of us. It could benefit all of us in the longer run. So I think I do like the point metrics, just task evaluation metrics, but we should also look into end-to-end in general.
Yeah, I think this brings us to the end of our time slot. So I want to thank all the panelists for participating in this discussion. I think just to briefly summarize, we came up with like several good points. Sort of in the beginning, we discussed about the possibility of having year-long tracks so that there is some continuation in the research that is happening through DSTC challenges. Also, we should take steps to encourage reproducibility in the research challenges by sharing code, making opportunities for sharing of code. Also, we should not just chase metrics which kind of like metrics for just performance, but we should have other metrics which incorporate efficiency or value of computation, or maybe also consider the environmental impact of all the research we are doing, rather than like training a lot of models for just a small gain in accuracy. Also, to encourage diversity, we discussed like a great idea of having low resource tracks, like a track reserved for low resource languages, which could help us reach out to a more diverse audience. So yeah, with this, I want to like really great ideas. I want to thank all the panelists for the healthy discussion, and also all the audience who asked great questions. So yeah, with this, thank you everyone, and hope to see you tomorrow in the workshop for the third and fourth tracks and DSTC 10 track proposals.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.